Hello everybody. First of all, I want to thank all of our supporters and friends who gave me this chance to be with you here. Firstly, I want to start from the beginning based on the Israeli resented violation of international law, and since the year 1948, it is ignoring of hundreds of UN resolutions which condemns the colonial and discriminatory politics as illegal, and since of all forms of international mediations and peacemaking, having until now failed to convince or force Israel to comply with the humanitarian laws and to end its occupation and oppressions of the Palestinian people. And inspired by the struggle of South Africa against the apartheid and the spirit of the global solidarity, moral consistency, and commitment to the fighting injustice and oppressions in the labor movements, based on all of that, we, the Palestinian labor movements, appeal to the people of conscience to impose broad boycotts of Israel and implement divestments in steps similar to those applied against South Africa during the apartheid era. We also urge the international labor movements to pressure their respective states to impose embargoes and sanctions against Israel until it meets the obligations to recognize the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people for self-determination and fully complies with the precepts of the international law by firstly ending the occupation and colonization of Arab lands and dismantling the apartheid wall. Secondly, recognizing the fundamental rights of full equality of its Palestinian Arab citizens. Thirdly, Palestinian refugees who are now staying in many countries, one of them Canada here, they have to return back to their homes. So we need the support of all rights of the Palestinian refugees to return back home and to their properties stipulated as in the UN resolutions 194. With regards to the situation of workers in West Bank and Gaza Strip, it has deteriorated significantly over the past decades. Gaza is home to some of the highest unemployment rates in the world. The unemployment has reached its peak in the year 2002. In the Gaza Strip, Israel has put Gaza under total blockade since Hamas was elected in the year 2007. The blockade has restricted the movements of the people and goods, which leads to their destroying the Gazan economy as whole, especially after the year 2008 Israeli war in Gaza. The Gazan people are prevented from reconstructing their homes and the infrastructure. And the Gaza Strip depends on the Israel as the main provider and supplier of electricity and fuel, which makes Israel control these important aspects in line with their interests. The production based in Gaza is also subject to the Israeli control. The employment is up in Gaza Strip to the percentage 38, 36 for men and 48 for women. Yes, this is the unemployment people in Gaza. As stated in the reports of the International Monetary Fund, the distribution of the employment in Gaza Strip is suffering from structural problems. The percentage of workers in the agriculture sector reached to 7%. manufacturing is 2.7%, and construction less than 1%. In addition, about 68% of the total employment in Gaza Strip is in service, most of whom work in the public sector. About 58 of salaries workers in Gaza Strip work in the public sector, and this in the public sector, yes, in the public sector, and this is among the highest in the world. This distribution shows the major structural economic problem. Also, Israel is preventing any Palestinian workers from Gaza Strip to work in its economy. This policy has been going on since the year 2005. In the year 2000, more than 15% of the labor forces of Gaza used to work in Israeli economy. The rate of poverty in the Gaza Strip is 33% of the population, among the weak ends in 33 approximately. Approximately 71% of the population of Gaza Strip are on aid. And this shows that if the aid has ceased to exist, situation would be more bad and more. As for the West Bank, the status of the economy and of the workers is largely determined by the system of closure and checkpoints between the cities, which made by the Israeli, and they control these checkpoints. Also, you know that the borders are with the Israeli, and they control also all the borders around the West Bank. These measures have reduced the capacity for economic development. The rate of unemployed in the West Bank is reached 17%. Among of them, 17 are men and 20% are women. There are significant distribution in the distortions of the workers among the various economic sectors, which are find that the employment is concentrated in the services sector, which employs 35% of the workers, and the construction accommodation is 11% of the labor force, while the manufacturing industry attracts about 14% of the labor force. In spite of the policy of preventing Palestinian workers from working in Israel, there is approximately 70,000 Palestinian workers from the West Bank still working in Israel, which represents approximately 14% of the labor force in West Bank. This percentage was up to 21% in the year 2000. As for poverty in the West Bank, the percentage of the poor are lower than those recorded in Gaza Strip, and up to 18% of the population. To highlight the role of Israeli brutal substitution of workers and to defend their rights, the trade union movements recently formed the Coalition of Palestinian Unions for Boycotting Israel as an integral part of the National Committee for the Boycott, Divestments, and Sanctions. This coalition includes the majority of the trade unions and is considering the largest and the most comprehensive of its kind. It also includes the vast majority of Palestinian professional associations. The coalition is based upon the call of the Palestinian civil society issued in the year 2005, and the standards of the boycott adopted by the National Committee of the Boycott. The trade unions movement and the international professional associations play a major role and a constitution as essential source of inspiration by their commitments towards the issue of human rights through the imposition of concrete and constructive trade sanctions against the respective regions. as an embodiment of active solidarity with oppressive people all over the world. They have had a prominent role in boycotting South Africa during the struggle against the apartheid regime. The trade unions and the professional organizations are taking the lead in defending the rights of Palestinian people of self-determination that can be achieved only when Israel ends its occupation and apartheid regime. And acknowledgement and aspects of rights of return of the Palestinian refugees to their homes and compensating them the rights it recognized internationally according to the UN Resolution 194. From here, we appeal to the labor unions and the international professional organization to join and work with boycott, divestments, and sanctions movements, BDS, as the most effective means of solidarity with the people living under colonial and racist oppressions. We appeal to the trade unions in particular to review the relations with the racist Israeli trade union, the Histadrut, due to its position and involvement in Israeli violation of international law and for its defense of Israel war crimes and occupations against the Palestinian people. The Palestinian Trade Coalition for Boycotts appeal for the boycott and the severing of ties with Histadrut is based on the fact that the latter is a Zionist organization that historically participate in the coalition settlements of our land, and because that it is the Histadrut firstly play a key role in the perpetuation of the occupation, colonials and apartheid Israeli, support Israeli flagrant violations of the Fourth Geneva Conventions and other principles of international law, has a strong commercial interest in the projects of Israeli illegal settlements, allows the Jewish settlers in the occupied West Bank to join the Histadrut, and also in 13th of 2009 issued a statement supporting the brutal Israeli aggressions on the besieged Gaza Strip, and issue a statement in support of the Israeli massacres against the human rights activities on the board of the flotilla on the 31st of 2010. Also, the Histadrut owes more than 8.3 billion shekels, about 2.43 billion USA dollars, for the Palestinian workers from the Palestine territories occupied in 1967, where they cut this amount from the entry of the workers over the years of occupation against social benefits and union fees, which were denied to Palestinian workers. According to the leading role of the trade unions movements in solidarity with Palestinian people in their struggle for self-determination and return to their homes and the liberations from Israeli occupation and the system of apartheid, and inspired by the role of the international trade union movements in the struggle against apartheid South Africa, the Coalition of Palestinian Trade Union for the boycott of Israel warmly greets all international trade unions and the solidarity movements, especially those that have adopted the BDS campaign. calls all international trade unions and professional associations in all parts of the world for an proactive with the Palestinian people by joining the global BDS campaign and apply it in the way suitable for their circumstances that may boycott Israeli companies and companies who are involved in Israeli violence of international law and withdraw investments from Israeli government's bonds and shares of complicit companies and pressure their own government to end the free trade agreement with Israel and to stop the arms trade with Israel. Demands that the trade union in various trading boards around the world aggressively boycott the loading and unloading of the Israeli ships, like the rule played by the trade union for port workers to suspend the maritime trade with South Africa during the apartheid. In addition to this important rule of trade unions, the boycott movement has achieved many important successes in the past years, including the Brazilian Federation Trade Union, CUT, which represents approximately 20 million workers, adopt the BDS. The Union of Electricians and Information Technology sector in Norway, which has 37,000 members, which is a part of the huge Norwegian Federation of a Trade Union, LO, adopt the BDS campaign and at its annual conference. And the resolutions were adopted unanimously. The union is also seeking to cut ties with the Histadrut. The Australian Education Union, which includes 185,000 teachers and education system employees, adopt the BDS campaigns at its annual conference held last January. A draft of resolutions to boycott Israeli goods was adopted by overwhelming majority in Edinburgh University Students Association. The draft resolution received 270 votes and the opposite only was 20 votes. In historical precedents for the campaign for academic boycott of Israel, this is really, yes, a historical precedent. After the decision of the University Council to review the relations with at the University of Ben Gurion, Israel, for several reasons, including the involvement of the last in the occupation and the Israeli violations of Palestinian rights, the Council issued a statement formally states that as a result of extensive discussions and enthusiasms, the Council of the University of Johannesburg voted today to end the official relation with Ben Gurion University starting on April 1st, 2011. Came to these achievements came after 2 years of hard work of South African academic and activities at the university. Also, the German company decided to withdraw its participations in installing a railway line because the line is passing from the occupied Palestinian land. The decision of this company to withdraw from this project was a result of the pressure on the German government by several groups of jurists, politicians, and German and Palestinians and Israelis peace activists. These my supporters, these my friends, success and victories have been achieved because of your support for our struggle in Palestine, which would definitely end the apartheid regime. Until then, we ask you to continue with us, to support us to end this bad occupation. Thank you.